Hello, Face Warriors. Let's have a good holiday shortened week. Ren, how are you? Didier, Brock, my trading warrior brother, Jeff, and Michael. Hello. Okay, so dollar lower, on the verge of making a new low. That would be under this level, 91.74. So we're about 30 points away from this happening. Hello, Michael. Arena. Okay. Should be able to hear me. Everyone else sound okay still?
We can hear you. Good morning,
Okay.
Coach.
Okay, buddy. Thank you. All right. So 91.44 is 78.6 back. I have to kind of go a little longer term to show you what it is a fib of. So here's a weekly. So it's really going all the way back to the low at 2018 to the high of the COVID crash. And we're approaching this 78.6 level. This speed line is going to come in around 90.70 to 90.40, maybe 90, which is what a lot of people are looking for. Let's see where this speed line takes us. 89.5. So what's interesting about the dollar breaking down, I talked to some traders about it Saturday. I was interested in if this happened, which asset classes would make the most hay out of it, and I thought, well, gold would, the metals would, but you know what? The metals aren't, right? Gold down a few bucks here. Maybe it'll have a delayed fuse depending upon how deep this decline goes in the dollar. I'm figuring around 90. Silver, not off the gun, but if we get a continuation move, perhaps silver makes another run towards these highs up here at 25 bucks. And this is something you may want to monitor, and it's the Dow, which isn't open, doesn't have an aftermarket in it, but check it out. And since the S&Ps and NASDAQ are up a little bit, my preferred short is NASDAQ still, although I think they're both going to go down. But maybe we get one more push up in the Dow up here for what, guys? What would happen up there? See this? See this? And if we got one more run to take out this high, that's right, Jane, that maybe we end up with a third drive. If, I really don't care. I almost prefer it didn't. But maybe today, like right now, NASDAQ is up 0.34%. S&P is up 0.65%, twice as strong. So maybe the Dow will be up 1%, that would take it to about here. So this is a possibility. It doesn't have to. I've seen a lot of two drives be all that it needs. And so also just to, I was talking the short side of NASDAQ last week, looking for a 2-week reversal, which we got Friday. We closed under this weekly close. It was 12,130. The high that last week was 12,090. So really, this is our first week to the downside, our first 2-week reversal in quite some time. So in order for it to continue by Friday, we need it back under right around where it's at now, 11,953 for a continuation and a confirmation of the reversal in NASDAQ. Oh, really? Okay. How much higher are they, Sensei? Yeah, I'll change the symbol. Good tip. Appreciate it. And currency wise, I'm the first to admit I didn't think the pound would lead it. Pound's looking great. It's at 88.6 up here, isn't it? Yeah. Euro, looks like a breakout. Now, it shouldn't close back under this 1895, 18, where is this? 18 and a half, 1870. All right, thank you. So I see no reason except there is a little divergence here on the 2 hour where we are getting non-confirmations, not quite on the 1 hour, 15-minute. I don't think this is going to be a big top because of this. And the 4 hour. We should be able to take this high out now. So this was a high of the move at 119.20. So we're really not that far away from taking it out. And is there anything else I really want to cover? No, and this is just one more thing that kind of reinforced my idea of NASDAQ was this formation Friday. Had a little debate with Steve about selling it. And he said, we haven't had a sell signal, and he's right. What you need is most people are going to get negative if we take out 35.25 in S&Ps. But we had this rising wedge here. And, rising wedges can retrace 100%. So we'll see if this wedge still works. This was the sell Friday. And if I'm right about a 15 to 20% correction, we're going to 10,000. This will be a big level here, 97.50, because that was a previous all-time high in 2000, I believe. So we'll see. It's a shortened week. But my expression, Ziggy did a great, funny tweet this morning. Where is it, Zig? Pretty creative, buddy. So Ziggy promos face every day. You guys could do that too if you want. I think he has fun with it, but here it is. Bears feast on Thanksgiving. Turkeys get the trots. But who's that guy in there? Is that me, Zig? Anyway. Good one, buddy. Yeah. All right, so I'm going to bring Blake in, and he'll do the bias chart. So shortened week here, dollar down, Blake. I don't see any sign yet that it's going to turn.
No, and good morning.
Hey, good morning, buddy.
I actually think that the dollar actually looks pretty vulnerable here. So
yeah,
and that's what I said over the week ahead video. I really think that the dollar looks like it's going to get hurt, and the cable's ripping, as you pointed out. It is leading, and I go back and I remember this one time in band camp, and I'm joking.
That's a good one. I love that.
I know Stelios did. He loves those older movies, but some of you might have got that one. No, but
you have to say it with a voice as well. There was this one time in band camp.
In band camp. This one time in band camp. Yeah, that movie is hilarious. Anyway, I can't wait to watch that movie with my boys. Oh my God.
Bill says no flutes. He knows what we're talking about.
That's awesome. Okay, sorry, I digress here. What I do remember though is I remember, and this is not just the only time. I can actually recount a couple of these situations. So I remember one time during Thanksgiving, the Thanksgiving holiday, It must have been, I don't know, 2006, 2007, 2005, somewhere around there. And during the Thanksgiving holiday, the dollar just, and I can't remember vividly if it was the dollar selling off or it was the dollar rallying, but whatever was happening, it was happening when Europeans are like, okay, North American traders are not in front of their computer for the most part, and we're at home, and and this is pre smartphones, so pre iPhone, or iPhone was in its infancy. We didn't really have like apps, trading apps. You had to basically be on your laptop and on a wireless connection at home. And I remember having my laptop sitting up on my island as I'm like carving a turkey, going, oh my God, I cannot believe the market is just completely, it was like a 300 pip move. And then I remember another time where it was like a range extension, like, the euro was trading in a 200 pip range, kind of like the way it is right now, like literally like something like this. And during like Thanksgiving holiday or Christmas, Thanksgiving, excuse me, it broke out.
Was it a Friday, Blake?
What's that?
Was it on a Friday? Because I remember some huge outside moves on Friday.
Yeah, well, I can't remember if it was a Thursday, Friday, but I remember it was over the holiday. And then, it wasn't like too long ago. I want to say like a few years ago, Wednesday night, and I went out for a couple of drinks with my buddies because they're like, hey, let's get together and have. And a lot of times I would get together with some of my friends and go have a couple of beers the night before Thanksgiving Eve, And I remember sitting there and I'm having some drinks and I'm watching the euro explode, and it's like a lot of time. I'm just trying to point out there are situations where, if North America is on a vacation or on holiday, the market will try to take advantage of it, and it's not uncommon, and it makes sense too. I mean, because if there's a lot of liquidity behind North America, which there is. When I say North America, I'm just talking that the North American European time zone crossover. There's so much liquidity, and the North American institutions and traders do have a lot of pull and a lot of clout, so when these moves can happen and you get these sneak attack moves from Europe and Asia, which Europe is, obviously the other big powerhouse in the FX world, but you'll have traders from around the world just trying to take advantage of like North American traders not being around. And so that's why we as FX traders have to be a little bit on our guard going into these holidays, especially that are specific to North America, like, and specific to the United States, like Thanksgiving. So, and if you look at the euro, I mean, look, the euro is probing this. This is the channel resistance of the flag. And if you look at the flag, you could draw it like this. I mean, that's a big flag pattern that could be breaking out, especially if we get above 120. We get above 120, and obviously the 120, what is that, like 120.20 or 120.15? I forget what it is, the number specifically. Let me just zoom in a little bit. Especially if we get in right here, the 120.11, 120.11, especially if we get above those levels. I mean, we're gonna talk like a big breakout, and the euro should trade up to 125 and even further than that. Not saying it's going to do it within a week, but that's the path of least resistance moving forward. So right now we are, and this is right now we're above channel resistance, and if we get above this 1920, that's going to tell me that we're looking at this week somewhere up here. And then that's when we have to be really on guard, because once again, we go on Thanksgiving holiday here in, with all the US traders gone, that's when a breakout can really occur, So I'm watching this very closely. I've got a little bit of euro dollars that I picked up, and if you guys watch the week ahead video, you should not go, oh man, I can't believe Blake is, bearish dollars. No, I was giving you guys the whole rundown on why the dollar could break down, and all the different pairs that it looks vulnerable, starting with like the cable. And here we are. We're really trying to make, make a move. So let's go ahead and put down everything on the bias chart. And I guess I have to say one last thing, Coach. With the dollar weakening, what usually correlates with that?
Yeah, the gold is not getting any lift from it, the metals, PMs.
Gold isn't now, but what else do we usually get?
Risk on with equities.
Yeah. So that's the other thing. Look, guys, we're near like all-time highs. And remember, we closed at our lows on Friday, and I think a lot of that was just, some flow on Friday afternoon. And you can see we closed like, the stock market was selling off right into the close, and then boop, here we are. I'm still very, I want to say this, I'm very hopeful that this year we are going to get the blow off top. And I know I've been saying that for like probably the last 18 months, but I'm saying that really more of a, I'm hopeful that we get some sort of blow off top in the market. If you really look ahead into like 2021, I do think this is going to be the year that we have probably a pullback or some sort of consolidation. But that doesn't mean that it's going to happen like, as soon as the clock strikes 12 on midnight, on the 31st of 2020. I think that the market is going to set itself up for a bit of a pullback. I mean, we do have we do have a new administration, it seems like, coming in. We're going to have a new Treasury Secretary. We're going to have we're going to have a look back at what the coronavirus has done to the global economy. And I think the market's going to have like a sobering realization of that. And as we look around and we go, okay, we as a global economy, we did fare the coronavirus better than probably most people expected. The fact of the matter is it still has an effect, and it still is going to have an overarching effect on the market, and stimulus is going to start to dry up, and we are going to see less central bank activity, as it wasn't Armageddon, if you will. So since we didn't have Armageddon, central banks are probably going to have to slow down in their asset purchases. We're probably going to see inflation start to rise a little bit. You're going to see dollar continue to weaken. We're going to see commodity prices continue to rise, and there's a strong chance that equities are going to pull back as a result of all this. And so when I look at stocks where they're at right now, they are in breakout territory, and I wouldn't be surprised if we end the year above like 3,700, and really going to the beginning of the year pressed towards 4,000 in the S&P. I do think we will peak at some point early this next year, if I had to guess. But for right now, let's take a moment and recognize this. That this right here, you can see this is a triangle. And while the S&P is above this 3520, I do not think you should be bearish. Yes, when this happened a couple weeks back, I'm like, okay, that was a false breakout. And it played, to the downside a little bit for like a few days. But look at what the stock market's doing right now. It's actually holding up pretty well. And if I have to be honest, it's holding up a lot better than than I thought it was going to. All right. So we're developing this triangle pattern. Support today is going to be 35.45. Okay. Well, let's go. Let's write this 35.20 and 35.45. Now, for those of you that are new to, this webinar, we do this every day, and we do our bias chart on the markets every day. And this is not telling you, oh, this is where I short the market, or this is just telling you where key support and resistance levels are. So when we get there, if we get there intraday, you know that it's an inflection point, possible inflection point in the market. So right now the resistance is probably around 36.10. And then 36.40.
It's midday, isn't it?
What's that? Dude, where's my car?
Yeah.
And then I hate that movie. I know I say this whenever I mention that, but it's like one of two movies I've ever walked out of. But that part was actually very funny. I actually walked out of the theater. Imagine that. That never happens. I couldn't deal with it anymore. Okay, let's talk FX. So here's the euro. We were discussing it earlier. Today we have 119.20 is obviously key resistance. You can see we're breaking out what I think is breaking out of this channel, but we really have to break above 119.21. If you are a Forex Analytics subscriber and you listen to Paul Franco's analysis earlier during the European crossover, and this is going, I'm going to flip it to bullish today, but that it's not concrete yet. But it's going there now. He put in resistance at 119.05. Today's high is 119.06, and this is hours ago. So that's Paul Franco, SPZ trader. All right. So right now support is at 118.50, and that was pretty much the open, and that's the level that I don't think bulls want to see it below there. I know Dale was saying we don't want to see it close below 118.90. I really don't think bulls want to see anything down towards 118.50. Those that are in it longer term. Cable breaking out. Look, there's no meeting set up between Boris Johnson and I forget who the EU negotiator is, but it doesn't matter.
Barnier.
I'm sorry.
Barnier.
I don't think it was Barnier though that was set up. Gosh dang it! Here, I'll figure it out. So in the chat room from earlier, this is when I came in this morning. Okay, I was talking about my son's soccer match. Let's see. Amanda was saying we were talking, and then Irish Prime Minister, hopeful at the end of this week, we can know that's a real Brexit deal by the end of the week. But there was something, there's another headline that came out as I was kind of grabbing my coffee. Oh, here we go. EU's Mammer. That's an interesting European name, huh? Mammer. Mammer? Kind of like mama. Mammer. Mama. Anyway, but I don't think the market cares, because the market's looking ahead and saying there's probably going to be a deal that gets done. Now, that doesn't mean that you should be buying the cable up here necessarily, but I do think that dips now to 133 should be very well supported today. And you guys should know this because you've heard me say it a lot, but more importantly is we're getting really close to, see, what I was thinking today is we were going to get a deal today, and we would spike up to this big multi-year descending wedge resistance, But you know what it seems like it's going to happen, and this is me speculating, is this week we're going to get up to 135, and then a deal is going to put us well above 135. Like, we get a deal and we're going to spike up to 138, and then it's breakout city, and then you cannot stand in front of this thing no matter what. I mean, because I have to reiterate, this is a descending wedge, and I will tell you that this is my favorite chart pattern. Anybody who knows me, who's been listening to my analysis for the last 20 some odd years or 15 some odd years, would know that my favorite chart pattern is this one from a reversal standpoint. And this is one that, yeah, if we break above 135, you just can't get in front of it anymore. You just have to, be buying dips. That's it. I mean, this is and think about Brexit. This was the Brexit announcement. This is it, June of 2016. Could you imagine after the 4 years, Stelio, Steve, that we retrace most of that move? Do I think that the UK is out of the woods? No, but I think that, we could very easily see 140, 145, and then people will go, oh, you know what? Maybe this isn't so good from a long-term financial standpoint for the UK, and then start selling the cable, in the mid 140s. Isn't that crazy? How far we've come?
Yep, absolutely. And I do think that there is a good chance, obviously, if there is an agreement, that we'll get to 140, and I think it will happen pretty fast as well.
Yeah,
what you do up there is a different story, but I think we might get there.
Right, exactly.
Especially in combination with dollar weakness, which I think is going to be a long-term thesis. So
yes. Whoops. Sorry, I thought I was typing over here. Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a risk that we do, really the dollar, like, I mean, if you just look around, and I know I was pointing a lot of this out on the week ahead video, but I mean, look at the Aussie. I mean, we're at levels, that we haven't been at since 2018. The Kiwis at levels that we haven't been at since 2018. I mean, these are all massive, like, signals that the dollar is just going to get rocked. I mean, but I have to also say, if there is some risk aversion, you always have to be careful of that. But there's probably a lot of money on the sidelines that's just waiting for a Brexit deal, waiting for a new administration, and maybe that's the catalyst that gets everybody into the, everybody in the water. The water is nice. It gets everybody in, and then maybe we could see a reversal. Who knows? But anyway, I should probably like mark up some of these levels to let you guys go, or let you guys talk. So let me do this real quick. As we wrote last week, channel resistance is at 73.40. I mean, we're struggling up here again, but whoops, 73.40. But imagine if we break, this is the range. Oh, I'm going to put in bullish right now for the cable. Support. Okay. I would say support's right here. Because we could slip through the range or back through here again, and we could challenge 73 cents easily today. Oops. All right. Kiwi. Almost at the 161% extension of this move. Channel didn't matter. We broke right past it. I was really hoping we would last week. I was really hoping we would have came down to 68.50 or 68.40, I think is what I wrote down last week. You can see I have alarms set up around there. I really wanted to see us dip down there so I could be long, but this Kiwi really, it's it's in a situation that if, you know, it's just not letting you in. And if you're short, it's not letting you cover. And that's the toughest. If you're actually short the Kiwi, you're like, I just want out, and it's just not letting you out. And that's the worst feeling, right? So now we have to look at dips maybe to 69.20. Resistance 69.75, 161% extension. And as of, you know, weeks ago, it's our one that's been bullish the whole time, and it's the one that's just not letting shorts out. And whoops, and if you're long, it's not letting you in. Sorry, hold on, let me grab my chart again. Aussie New Zealand. Oh wait, why am I going over to the Aussie New Zealand? You know why I did that? This is funny because when I do the end of day analysis for Forex Analytics, that is the actual this is the actual order I go into every night, because I do the analysis for all the basic technical analysis for Forex Analytics, all of these instruments. So when you read the basic technical analysis at the end of the day, of the end of the North American session, you're reading my analysis, right? So every day I go, you know, Euro, Cable, Aussie, Kiwi. I jump over to the Aussie New Zealand, then flip back over to the dollar Canadian. And it's just the natural order that I follow. And I didn't mean to do that this morning. Okay, dollar Canadian. All right. So dollar Canadian's holding up pretty well. This is the one currency pair that I would say, if I was a dollar bull right now and I said, all right, you know, you got gun to my head, buy a dollar somewhere. You got to buy a dollar against something. I would buy it against the dollar Canadian. I would buy it against the Canadian. You know, we had this false breakdown below 130. But the fact of the matter is, if the dollar continues to get hit, the dollar Canadian will eventually sell off. I mean, it's just going to buckle under pressure. Right now, probably one of the better trades is like buying the Euro Canadian or buying the pound Canadian. But like I said, if the dollar continues to weaken, the dollar Canadian will eventually fall. So I know the lows here at 130.30 is probably important, but I'm going to mark up the 618, which comes in at 130.20. Resistance 131.20, and then 131. You guys should remember this from last week, 131.75, right? I'm going to keep it in range. Dollar Mexican peso, we are below 20. I mean, this one's trading really heavy, and it's been trading heavy this whole time. I mean, it has just been you know, I've been trying to play the dollar Mexican peso on the long side, and you know, intraday fairly successful, but I can't deny the fact that it's been trading extremely heavy this last week, and I think the risks are building that, you know, this is a 78% retracement of this whole move, so we're probing below 120 now. I think while we stay below 20, I'm sorry, I said 120. While we stay below 20, 44, 45. Okay. We have to stay bearish. And you can see we're above 20 right now, but I think that's more temporary. Support, next support's the 127% or 127% extension at 1986. Dollar Swiss. The dollar Swiss is nearing, I know we have this like little channel. Support's going to be at 90.56. I'm just going to write down 90.55. Resistance, well, you guys should know while we're below this trend line here. And I remember last week we wrote 91.85. It's slowly descending. So now we're at 91.60. It is range bound right now. Dollar yen, or I'll just work my way this way. Dollar Norwegian krona, bearish wedge, support at 8.95, resistance 9.05. And I know we wrote down 8.96, but I think we've been as low as 8.95 and change now. I may be wrong. Let me double check that. No, it's 8.96. Sorry. And this is key because this is a bearish wedge that's developing. And by the way, let me just say this. That's a double top. I know we've said it, or I've said it. Double top, right? That actually points to 860 eventually, which would take us to a new trend low, which, I mean, you know, you look at it, it's not bullish. And City's been short the US dollar Norwegian krona. And last, was it 2 weeks ago? I think I played the US dollar Norwegian krona on the long side right here. I played it on the long side right through here. Like, you know, we had a little intraday double bottom and I played it on the long side, and I played it for a little bit. I didn't play it all the way up to 920, but I knew that City was short through here. And they're still short. Their portfolio is still short. So they look like they're going to be right here. As long as this double top stays in play and you stay below 920, it should, you know, eventually make its way lower. Okay. Moving along, dollar yen. Oh, I have to go back to the dollar index. Dollar yen. I mean, this. You guys know that I really just don't. I'm not keen on trading this right now. Resistance should be at 104. Support 103.60, then 103.20. And it's trading heavy. So 104, but you realize that 103.20, you realize that there is, and then 103.60. There is a big triangle support down here that we have to be cognizant of on the dollar yen. So just, you know, before you get all aggro short here, just know that we've got some pretty key supports that are coming up soon. Dollar index, we broke the 92 level support, 92.10. Next support is 91.80. And as you can see here, I would say intraday, while we're below 92.20, it's bearish, but you know, we could make all the way back up to here to 92.50 or 60, and it's still bearish. But dollar index is trading heavy, 92.20, and we are threatening to go bearish here today. So just heads up. Last but not least, gold. Let me finish this off with gold. As Dale pointed out, gold is trading heavy, and it is. But I'll tell you what gold's also doing. It's also holding 1850. So if we can break above 1880, this would be bullish. And for those of you guys that want to trade gold, I think you have, this is where you have to be patient, right? Right here. Below 1850 is bearish, and realize that we have 1838 is the big 38% retracement. So just there's a lot of support just below here. And then resistance is at 1880. Wait for a breakout. If you trade gold, that's how I would approach it right now. And if it breaks above 1880, we should get back to 1900, and if you get lucky and you're on the long side, you know, maybe it makes its way back up to 1940 as the dollar gets, you know, rocked. Who knows? All right, but that's how I would approach gold. So
Good luck.
thanks. 1850. Oops, let me write down 1838, which is key. And then all right. Your bias chart's done. Finished. Finito. Voila.
You are so
Stelios,
biased,
Steve.
Blake.
What? Huh?
You
What?
are so biased.
I am. I'm just a biased mofo. Anyway, guys, this is only part of what we do. What you see here in the mornings. You know, just remember the Forex analytics community is a big community. It's a community of traders. We have people in our chat rooms all day long. Myself, Stelios, Amanda, Steve jumps in there from time to time. Dale does every once in a while. Paul Franco's in there all day. We have a lot of our team members are in there chatting around all the time. And we have a great community of traders. So come be part of Forex Analytics, download the mobile app. You know, we do upgrades all the time, like the live charts that we added to Forex Analytics this week or this last week. Thank you, Steve, and the development team. And if you want to be part of Forex Analytics, go to the Forex sponsored page. You could possibly get it for free if you open a Pepperstone account. Use this link right here where it says open account. Okay. And guys, I'm going to pass it over to you. Stelios, Steve, it's all yours.
Thank you, Blake.
Senor
Thanks, guys.
Blake.
Have a
you.
great
one.
one. And,
You too,
and oh, I
Blake.
forgot to tell you guys, for those of you that are soccer fans, I was at a tournament all weekend with my son. It went to the championship, and he's the keeper, and he lost the PK overtime. Sucks. It sucks.
It's okay.
Anyway, what happened with the dollars actually? Pulling back. What happened? What
And the
equity?
S&Ps are coming off.
Wait.
Yep.
Something just happened.
S&Ps are just dropping.
White House weighs new action against Beijing.
New action.
New action. Well, new action. Time for action. New action.
Yeah,
New
they're gonna prank call them. New action.
That's it. You're getting crank called, man. Well, all right. We'll see. We'll see if the market takes that in stride or not. So, all right, guys, I'll pass it over to you. Have a great one.
You too,
Thank you,
Blake.
Blake.
Bye-bye, mate.
So we have another vaccine, the Oxford one, and apparently it's 30% effective, but it can be stored in a regular fridge. So I think this is all clearly good news. Technology and doing their best, and we definitely need them. Let's see how that goes and how that develops, and the vaccination sequence and how many times you need to do it, and I'm personally waiting for more information on that. Stocks seem to like it, obviously, and I bet if there were like 20 headlines about 20 different vaccines, the markets would go up every single time, right? Even though one vaccine is only needed. But anyway, this is what's been moving the markets. And interestingly, like Blake and Dale said, metals are not following, and it's probably because given the fact that there seems to be some kind of a solution on the horizon in terms of vaccine, then central bank action is not going to be needed to be as extreme, let's say, as it had been planned. So metals are thinking, or markets are thinking, okay, metals are not going to be, this is definitely not good for metals if there's not as much liquidity pumped into the system. Obviously, this should be the same with other risk assets and equities, but clearly they're discriminating at the moment.
One bullish thing
several
one bullish thing still that someone sent me was that we had the largest outflow out of gold in maybe history over the last few weeks. huge
Yep.
outflows out of golds, which, makes me bullish.
Well, eventually, yes. Maybe in the short term, no. But also, now that you mentioned this, I was reading this morning that last 2 weeks was the biggest equity inflow in 2 weeks in history.
Huh.
So that's it's a
That's-
one-way train at the moment.
Yeah, so people coming out of their gold and buying equities.
Yeah,
Okay.
and
Yeah, I think people are going to pay for this behavior at some point. I think we're going to see a sharp leg lower, as it usually happens, to flush out all these over bullish people. And I think it's going to be at some point this year, but I don't think we're yet there.
yep. I'm personally still, you guys who've been following, I'm still waiting for lower levels in silver. It's creeping slowly, but I want 21s, 21, 22, somewhere there. And I'm going to start accumulating.
I mean, that's kind of my point. The DSI is down there in the 30s, where gold really hasn't given up that much. It's still holding that triangle, and silver's even a little stronger technically. And, people, so DSI is low, and the biggest outflow from gold funds without gold really crashing, that's kind of interesting to me.
Interesting. Although we have seen
It's some kind of a rotation, obviously. Some of the bulls that were forced in taking some defensive positions, including gold, think that it's a good idea to put that money back to work in stocks. Undoubtedly they're going to end up regretting it, if you ask me.
and also DSI,
yeah.
you're saying it's in the low 30s. It is, but remember, gold and silver, we've seen single digits for days and days. So it can get a lot lower.
Yeah, but still, I mean, considering the fact that we've just been consolidating the prior gains in a very, very bullish manner, the fact that sentiment is negative is quite funny.
That's my point.
It's a very good point. Absolutely.
Anyway.
So yeah. Oh, another news. We had some PMIs today. Services and manufacturing out of Europe and the UK. Kind of a mixed bag with probably slightly better than expected readings, but really nothing that's going to do anything on this. We have US PMIs later on. Again, unless it's a huge outlier, it's not going to do anything. Waiting on the short week. I think Wednesday is the big day when we have huge amounts of data, GDP and PCE and all that in the US. But at the moment, it's all very quiet. There's still really no progress, even though we seem to be edging towards a Brexit deal, or at least the markets seem to think that. The pound is trading pretty well again today. We still have nothing firm. We have nothing firm on the Donald Trump front either. He hasn't conceded yet. If anything, there was another headline that is going to be, what was? Can't remember. He was going to be disputing something else. Anyway, it's still not. It's still not done. Although the result. I'm not American. I'm just seeing what's been reported. It seems to be relatively clear, but still there's no transition of power planned at the moment. So still a few question marks in the market, and we wait and see.
Just the little ones. Who's going to be president?
Yeah, just a little one. Yeah. And so that's pretty much it. I wish I had more to say, but really we've had no breakthrough today. But Bitcoin and Ethereum and the cryptos in general, they're still doing well.
Oh yeah, Ethereum actually did some catching up. It's funny, because I did the weekend analysis on Ethereum yesterday, and I wrote that the next upside target is at 600, and we hit it like within. We were somewhere there, and we hit it like we're 10% higher than at the time I was writing analysis yesterday. So we hit it within 24 hours. So Ethereum is finally doing some catching up, because initially it wasn't following Bitcoin's explosive move higher, but then it did break through this triangle, and you've seen it went from 490 to like 600 within like 3.5
minutes
trading days.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
it's crazy.
cryptocurrencies are
I don't
exploding.
trade cryptos, but
Yeah.
yeah,
When the moon is in the 7th house, it's the age of Ethereum, age of Ethereum. I don't know
Copper
anything
is
about
also attempting to break out, which is quite interesting. Once
it. They're
again,
making Ethereum coins out of copper now.
yeah, once again resembling exactly what's happening here with the Kiwi. And funnily enough, resembling exactly the type of formation we have here in the cable, which is trying to break through an ascending channel. So we finally, slice through the 133.10 horizontal resistance area and the 78.6. And now the next target is almost at 135. Previous high is at 134.83. So that's where we're headed, and I do agree. There is a very high chance of this thing just exploding higher, and people will have to chase it afterwards. And in general, considering the fact that the dollar is just breaking down, which is no surprise whatsoever, obviously there. I think that we might even find out that this has been the slow-moving phase of the dollar's depreciation, and there is a much quicker one coming sooner rather than later. Next area of support for the dollar is roughly at 191. I think we're going there. I don't see any reason why. Euro USD is also attempting to break through this trend line resistance. Everything seems poised for a move higher against the dollar at the moment. And I don't think there is anything currently looking like it's about to derail that, at least not in the short term. As I said, I do think we're going to get some kind of a big sharp move lower. People are very complacent. There is no question about it, but I don't think we're there yet. So until then, we might continue seeing this, slow drift higher in risk, slow move lower in dollar. I wouldn't be surprised if it becomes, even fast. We'll find out. Now about natural gas, somebody was asking about it. Still holding up quite nicely here. Let's flip this. So holding up quite nicely within this channel. Has found support in this confluence at around 250. Currently testing resistance. If we do break through this descending channel, I think we're back in bullish mode. And in general, I think that the vast majority of things with intrinsic value will rally against the dollar. In any case, for the time being, the short-term trend is lower. So until we break through this channel, there is no real reason why somebody should be aggressively long. But I do think there is a high chance that we're going to eventually break through this channel, and in that case, we're going to just be rallying higher. In any case, just look at crude oil, for example. Seems to be, like a beach ball in the sea. You can really hold it on, underwater, right? I mean, it seems to be very well bid. The move lower so far, has proven to have clearly corrective characteristics. And I do think there is also a very high chance that it's going to end up actually accelerating higher if it does anything, that's going to be volatile. I think, the chances are much higher that it's going to be a move to the upside. So bottom line, our prior thesis about, dollar risk and everything else seems to be holding quite nicely. Technically speaking, every day we just get more confirmation that, that's the direction of the market you want to be on and not the opposite. And, I think it's very dangerous trying to fight it. And speaking of which, there are periods of time that the market does things that fundamentally seem to be logical. Currently, at least having to do with currencies and the dollar, I think we're moving in the direction that fundamentally makes sense. So I don't even, find any real reason why somebody, should try to fade this technically or from a macro perspective. Somebody's asking about platinum. I think that platinum is breaking out, right? Watching this channel. I think that platinum eventually is going to break through this 1040 area and it's going to, rally much, much, much higher. Palladium, hasn't been doing much. I think another leg lower, probably before higher, is in the cards. That's how it looks like. And I mean, look at this. What is it now? 2, 4, 6, around like 7, 8 days of doing nothing after that sharp move lower. I think that's more or less a testament that it still doesn't have the strength to rebound. Somebody's asking about Bitcoin. Bitcoin has gone parabolic. I mean, there's no surprise there. We were saying that this trend line resistance was key. We broke through it. We consolidated. We broke through it again, and it's gone vertical. You know how Bitcoin works. At some point, I think it might get a sharp move lower, but it's very well supported at the moment, and I think it's a matter of time to break the new highs. Technically speaking, I don't really understand the concept fundamentally. I don't see anything that Bitcoin can do that, other assets can't do better. But I'm not trying to fade it because technically speaking, it's obvious that it's very, very strong, and there is no reason why you should lose your money trying to fight. In the side of common sense, because we know that markets, especially during the past 12 years, don't make much sense in many aspects. Bitcoin, in my opinion, is one of those, and I really don't want to lose money in it. Right? I mean, I've even advised friends to buy some of it when they want to diversify. It doesn't really matter why it's going to do well, probably because other people believe it's going to do well, and for a period of time that is more than enough, right?
Yeah, it doesn't take as much money to move it.
Yes, that too.
I mean,
yes.
market cap. So I mean, institutions come in. It's it can move it. Not going to be able to do the same with the euro.
Yeah, in my opinion, it's the epitome of a bubble, because the only reason that people are buying it is because they believe that other people will be buying it and it will be going higher.
Well, I don't know if that's the only reason. A lot of people do believe in blockchain and believe it gives them independence.
No.
From
Blockchain
fiat.
blockchain and Bitcoin is two different things. First of all, right? One is the technology which can be used for several things, which is very useful, and I think
it's an anti-fiat bet, is the way a lot of them go into it with that belief.
But
do you believe it's an anti-fiat bet?
No, I don't, because I think that Bitcoin is a fiat crypto thing.
Okay.
The concept of fiat is backed by nothing. Do you have something to show me that Bitcoin is backed from?
Supply. You can't expand the supply.
Yes, but you can make 1,000 Bitcoins.
But not as fast as the Fed can print trillions.
You also have almost an infinite supply of fishes in the world. They still cost zero. No, fishes.
Feces. Oh,
yeah, and it still costs zero, right? So limited supply is something important when there is value. So if you provide a limited supply of something that has value, it is important.
Yeah. Okay.
When you have limited supply and something that has zero value, it's unimportant. Yeah. That's why I said we're not arguing in the direction. I've been saying for a long time that cryptocurrencies want to go higher, but nobody's going to change my fundamental thesis. Bitcoin can substitute absolutely nothing, and it has no real intrinsic value, and it will never have any intrinsic value. It's only...
Why don't you just tell us what you really think already?
I didn't hold back at anything. I gave you my
100%
unbiased
You
opinion.
did. that was facetious. Anyway, you're such a diplomat. You're an ambassador for the anti-Bitcoin movement.
Yeah, but you see, but you see, when you're objective, you can be fundamentally against something and still advocate that the right direction is buying it, right?
Right. Yeah.
And that's the case. I mean, I got a couple of friends of mine to buy some of it because they they wanted to, and they told them you should definitely do so because technically it seems to want to go higher.
And you can use it on PayPal now.
Yeah, that's actually, what the thing is that you can't actually use it on PayPal. That's the fun part. Because I looked into it out of curiosity. What you can do on PayPal is that you can have some Bitcoin on PayPal, but if you want to use it, in essence, it gets immediately sold for dollars and then it gets used.
Oh, I see.
And you can't even transfer it. So just to give you an idea, Dale, you can't move, let's say, you can only buy it on PayPal. So you cannot move existing Bitcoin on PayPal, if I'm not
Oh,
mistaken. That's how I understood it. And
yeah.
then you can't transfer Bitcoin from PayPal. So you can't have, let's say, one Bitcoin on PayPal and transfer it to me.
So
You
this is
can
a way they made themselves like a Bitcoin broker for another profit center because you have to buy it through them.
exactly, and then in essence sell it through them to use the fiat
Okay,
currency
so
that you
they're
get.
now a crypto broker.
More or
PayPal.
less, yes.
Okay,
That's
now I
exactly what it is.
understand. You know, I tell you what, if there's something you guys don't know, almost any subject, just ping Steve. Okay, the guy looks, the guy knows a lot. Anyway, you know, Steve, we have a guest today.
Okay,
First
who do we
time,
have?
first time. Greg Shafransky, his handles the stock shaman. So, you know, the shamans have a lot of deep insight and wisdom. So I'm looking forward to meeting Greg and talking to him. And why don't we
Perfect.
do it
I
now?
hope he brought his totems.
His what?
Totems.
Totems.
You
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
know.
Yeah. I know some people went to shamans in Peru and Brazil and had their heads adjusted. Anyway, Greg.
I used to have a salmon in World of Warcraft when I was in
Oh,
university.
all right. All right. It helped you. All right. Anyway, I'm
It
going
did
to.
give me some fun.
All right, Greg, I'm going to get you set up here now. Looking forward to meeting you, talking to you, and welcome to Face. Greg, how are you? Can you hear me? Waiting to hear you. It's on
He's
mute.
still muted. He needs to unmute.
Unmute your
Thank you.
mic.
There
Can you
you
hear me
go.
now?
Yeah.
Yeah,
There you
got you now, Greg. And have you used Zoom before as far as sharing your screen, the green box?
Yeah, I see it now. Yeah,
Okay.
just touching on that shaman thing.
Yeah,
I
go
was
ahead.
someone tried to take my name, Stock Shaman, on World of Warcraft there, and I had to go hire somebody to get rid of him.
Seriously?
Well,
There can be only one Stock Shaman.
all right. I believe that. So I'm looking for like metaphysical trades here today. So if you go ahead and share your screen, Greg,
Okay.
we could get going. And you know, I like to start off, Greg, with learning a little bit about our guests and the journey they had to get from point A to point B, B being where you are now. And I'm just guessing. Still, I'm not seeing your screen yet.
Oh, sorry.
You click the green box and then it asks you for the screen. But knowing your geography and where you're from, can I say that I'm not surprised that you're interested in minerals, being from the Vancouver area? Is that correct?
That's correct. You are sharing the screen, so can you
Yeah,
see
you
my?
got it. Yeah, I
All
see
right.
Google. I see your.
All right, here we go. Yeah, no, I've
Okay.
I entered the business in the equity sector back in the old Vancouver Stock Exchange days, about 1985,
Okay.
and you know, it was a much different landscape back then. It was all phone jocks, hired yaks. A lot of face-to-face meetings. Things. I guess here we are now, and you can see the dramatic change.
Yeah.
It's
Were you
only
on the
been
floor? Did you ever work at the exchange?
no, I no, but all my friends were the traders.
Okay.
You know,
All right.
we had a real community back then, and then there was an Alberta Stock Exchange, or the Calgary Stock Exchange, whichever you want to call it. And then later on, that the VSE and the Calgary Exchange merged to form the CDNX. And
Okay.
then in the final phase of that genre, to save the Toronto Stock Exchange, the TSX bought the CDNX, which is an interesting story.
Well, yeah,
Can't
Vancouver had a rep for a lot of gold companies. Wasn't Bre-X traded on Vancouver?
No, it was that was on the Calgary Exchange.
Oh, okay. But a lot of Barracudas, it was a very high risk type of exchange. The issues that were able to be listed there were fairly high risk. A lot of junior miners and so forth, right?
Oh yeah, there's a lot of junior miners. It's a risk reward market.
Okay.
High risk, high reward.
Okay.
I don't know what the odds are now. I think that with recent advents in technology, a junior miner has an odds somewhere around, I would comfortably say 500 to 1 to finding a mine. It's still to this day not easy to go out there, prospect, find a property, raise the money, do all the technology. You bring in all kinds of different technology, different scanning technologies.
Okay.
And then you're coming down, and now drilling's turned to can be quite pricey. So you raise the money, you raise $300,000, $400,000, $500,000, and you take your shot. And if you don't hit, then everybody hates you. But mind you might have been 2 feet away from the motherlode.
Yeah.
So it's a trying. It's not for it's high risk, and then therefore high reward.
Right. All right. Well, why don't we just move to the chart that you have here, buddy? And I've seen this chart before.
Okay, this is my recent. This isn't the most recent rendition, but this is the S&P in relationship to commodities, and you can see this one only goes to I think it's 2018. But trust me when I say we're way down here. It's a glaringly obvious situation. I think you folks were covering it before. We've got the just a ridiculously bought up market on the Dow and the Nasdaq, and it's a flight to fancy. All investors are piling into those indexes, buying the FANGs, your Teslas, and it's they're riding a never-ending rainbow of profits. Some people this year probably made upwards to 40% profit just trading the big board.
Right.
And it draws a lot of all that is drawing a lot of attention away from the resource sector. Right now, we've been in a 10-year bear market. Last time gold was up to it made its last high. It was back in about 2010.
Yeah, gold peaked in 2011.
2010.
Yeah. Okay.
And so did the TSX Venture Index. In Canada, we have the Toronto Stock Exchange. We have the CSE, another speculative venture market. There was a lot of pot deals there, and of course the TSX Venture. The TSX Ventures Index back at that time was about 2,100 on our index, and the TSX Venture Index, and presently we're at 740, which is glaringly oxymoron. It doesn't make sense. Last time we saw $1,800 on gold, the TSX Venture was trading at 2,100. Here we are, same price, 10 years later. Again, probably the longest bear market we've ever seen. We're at 740. So there's a lot of value to be bought, a value in these companies, some of them are producing, some of them are just exploring. There's a lot of value that has yet to be unleashed. You can almost look like the whole index could quite easily triple from here. And again, that goes to that lends itself to the vacuum that's been formed by the run up on the Dow and the S&P and the Nasdaq. it's, then the risk off trade, the riskier traders seem to be piling into the never ending spiral upwards of the Bitcoin, etc. And which reminds me a lot of the time when it reminds me of that time back here in 98, what I'm circling here, that's the dot-com era. And when the dot-com bubble burst, you can see the resource gold at that time was just under $300. It was right under $300. And right after that point, that's where gold shot up to, not on this chart, sure, but from that point here, when the dot-com bubble burst, gold went from 300 to 800 in literally months. And of course, then we had the crash there in 08. And from that point, gold shot up to 1800, and we had like 2100 on our index, and everything was great, and it was never going to change. And we were in a new era for the miners, and that was not the case. We unfortunately have sank down to where we are now, and which is an opportunity. People say, "Hey, it's down," but if you buy low, sell high, you're gonna, and take a profit when you got a profit. Nobody gets hurt.
Yeah, well, I mean, the shares, certainly the ones I follow, certainly aren't as cheap as this chart would represent. And gold did make a new all-time high. One of the few commodities that has made a new all-time high. Silver is still way off from its $50 high. A lot of attention, a lot of funds are moving into agricultural type commodities now, Greg. You look at the bean chart, and having been a broker in Chicago, that used to be a war cry from the Board of Trade, Chicago Board of Trade, beans in the teens. And that looks viable. There aren't many metals that are digestible. You can't eat, copper, or gold, or silver. Are you paying attention to some of these markets that people need to exist because they're food products?
I haven't. I haven't myself. I'm sorry to say. I noticed that the pork price. Someone reading a story about pork prices getting strong. Is that the case? We got some strong pork belly action.
Well, I can't answer that because it's not kosher.
Oh, excuse me.
Okay. Anyway, yeah, I mean, all meat prices, but grain prices, you have beans trading almost $12 from $8, and corn
Coffee.
and wheat, coffee, yeah, sugar. So yeah, like, when we were around in the 70s, you're getting a lot of different commodity markets that are starting to show a heartbeat and already in the move. So global metal, I've seen a lot of things talking about lithium. Do you trade like lithium stocks?
There's well, we got Elon Musk,
Oh, yeah.
possibly, well, I think, well, he's admitted to me on Twitter that he was an alien. That's only because his mom pointed that out to him. Because he came from South Africa, went to Toronto, and then he was living in California. It was literally an illegal alien. But
Yeah.
Elon's driven in his company, and well, I think the UN and all our friends at Davos there are all leaning that we want to, clean up the environment, make the air a little bit better, hopefully reduce CO2 emissions and maybe methane emissions, and the magic answer to that is electric vehicles. You've got a situation in Norway. We're down to like 4 years before you can't buy a car there, like an ICE vehicle, internal combustion engine vehicle. 2030 in Germany. Similar thing coming down in England. I know that Paris, London, and a variety of German cities are pushing for no gas vehicles in the city at all. So this is if you've been following the Great Reset from our friends at Davos, they're World Economic Foundation Forum. Sorry, it's they've been talking about this. First, it's a great reset. Now it's a great green reset. You've seen your president in waiting, Mr. Biden, is planning a $7.3 trillion stimulus.
Yeah.
The bulk of
Yeah.
it is a lot of it talking about basically doing away with what I read, doing away with oil and bringing in an age of electric vehicles, electric transportation. Say.
Right.
And
what about for producing electricity? Copper very important, but
Yeah.
I've talked to some analysts that are very bullish uranium stocks
I've been
because of
I've been
nuclear
very bullish.
reactors. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been in the sector a lot of times. To be frank, to your listeners and yourself, it's always a panic mode in the element sector, or I would refer to it as the element du jour. Back what's now 10, 12 years ago, you could have bought a pound of yellow cake or uranium for $9, and then it shoots to $100, and so everybody and their great aunt rushes in there, firing up all these uranium deals. Some of them hadn't been dusted off since the 50s, back in the Cold War, and we had one heck of a market for the uranium sector. The tsunami in Japan
Right.
literally doused out that fire.
Right.
But the smart money, or I wouldn't say smart money, but the intelligent people should not fear nuclear reactors. The sad thing about them is they're old and they need to be decommissioned. The technology we have now vastly improved from the 50s.
Right.
You got Rolls-Royce is I'm thinking it's Rolls-Royce in England is building a fleet of mini nukes that sort of blend into the countryside. So instead of having one massive series of cooling towers and centralized electricity production, that was the problem in Japan, is that wasn't just one nuclear reactor. That was a nuclear reactor farm. I think they had about 3 or 4 reactors there. When they couldn't get the water to one, then, well, it was a chain reaction, literally.
Right.
It all sort of blew up. The new technology does away with that whole meltdown thing. And
Okay.
as you're quite right, you don't see it, but countries around the world, India, big, China, even bigger. They're building these reactors. They're going to be coming online here. The demand's going to increase significantly. I think I have a chart here I'll bring up.
And I also, Greg, I went to your Twitter feed and you were addressing rare earth minerals, which, China kind of has a chokehold on a lot of them. And are there any in this hemisphere that, could be rare earth plays that you're looking at? Rare earth mineral plays.
Yeah, in this, well, you've got a Mountain Pass. The Mountain Pass mine just did I'm going to see it SPAC deal in the New York Stock Exchange. They got listed. I guess what I used to call blind. Yeah, what I used to call blind pool, but
Right.
They're listed there. I have a lot of friends and investors. Actually, I have a lot of shareholders of different investors of different companies I work for. They work at the Mountain Pass. This is at the Nevada-California border. It's on the California side. It's a rare earth mine. Now they mine the ore there and they put it in what they call super bags, which I think is about a flatbed train load of ore, and then they put that on. Well, it goes on a train, goes to the Pacific Ocean, goes across the Pacific Ocean, gets on another train, and goes to Inner Mongolia for processing. So, even though that is the only producing mine in North America, and and it's still not producing the specific elements. There's a half dozen or more rare earth elements in that ore that have to be separated, and the amount of solvents that's necessary to segregate them into separate iridium, cerium, or dysphorium, whichever one you want to separate out, has, in the case of Inner Mongolia, caused a significant natural disaster where they have an inversion layer there, and the acids and the solvents didn't dispel into or move anywhere out of the area, and basically destroyed all the vegetation. It's not a pretty business.
Yeah.
It is, and I have a hobby, and that's making graphene and graphene oxide, and my bent is finding a methodology to make a submolecular sieve that would say you got a solution with a whole bunch of rare earths, and you put this coffee filter in, and then through that coffee filter only go one specific rare earth. So this is something I'm working on. I have a little lab here at home, a material science lab, nothing nuclear.
Okay, so what are you trying to create, Greg?
It's well, I'm well on my way. It's a methodology to do away with the necessity. Well, basically, nobody's making rare earths but the Chinese. There's some small operations that are doing it in Europe, but again, the Mountain Pass mine and my friends there, they've sent me samples for me to test. Is to catch the specific element, the specific and do away with the solvents. So that's the gist of it. It's an ongoing process.
All right, so you're looking for a new methodology for extraction of
Yeah,
these
well,
minerals.
yeah.
Okay.
It's quite established what I'm doing. It's just it's a hit and miss. It's science. There's no straight path or everybody would be doing it. But you're quite right about uranium. We're still about $29 a pound here right now. No one's getting out of bed at $29 a pound. That's the you want to hit the bid and you want to buy some today price. Most of the uranium is sold on a contract basis. The last contract price that I saw was a Chinese firm buying from an Australian firm at $70 a pound. So there's a big discrepancy between 30 or 29 and 70. So that just tells you that, and this is
it's a liquid.
It's not tight enough. It's one thing.
It's a liquid.
The long story short, so our friend Putin there, he bought from one of his buddies all the potash and privatized for Russia all their potash. And that guy, and I can't remember his name, sorry. That gentleman, I think he owns one or two European professional soccer teams. Anyways, he made a lot of money. So he took that money and he went into Kazakhstan and bought up all the uranium, bought the big uranium producer there, which is all fine and dandy. And some of you folks out there that might have followed the Uranium One scandal. This is the same time. So the guy goes and he takes his score from Putin from selling his potash mines, goes into uranium, buys the Kazakhstan thing. And we didn't know this until literally 18 months ago. And this a decade's gone by. But what the guy had been doing was he was selling uranium from the company he bought at whatever price. He didn't care because the company was a private company, and he just basically, if there was a bid there and he had uranium, he filled it. So he crashed. It wasn't so much the tsunami that crashed. They crashed the uranium market down to where prices we're looking at now. It was this guy. And he
one of our attendees is saying it was Abramovich.
Thank you very much. That's right. So we didn't know all this until same company wanted to go listed on one of the British exchanges, and they had to do the disclosure. And then we also find out that the guy's got they're looking for him. I think he's been convicted in absentee in Russia and in England. And I think he's living in the south of France, last I heard. But he single-handedly destroyed the uranium sector by flooding the market with cheap uranium in the form of yellow cake. So there's
Okay,
something that
interesting.
maybe some people don't follow. So there's the other side. That's the avarice of it all. Here's the markets. Excuse me, has to clean itself up from that point on, and we're still at that place. So that's why you have this huge gap between the spot price and the contract price.
Okay. I just want to wrap it with one more question. I've interviewed some guys, and conservative silver bulls are looking for 50 again to be taken out, but there are actually some super cycle people that think it could trade at several $100 an ounce. What would you say to that?
Well, what I say in general is that like all the big indexes are flying higher than my opinion they should be. The PEs and cash flow per share ratios are just, what's that? I don't think people even use those terms. But yeah, no, it's going to come to roost. We're going to, the Bitcoin and all these other financial instruments, it's going to be an ugly payback and I believe it with your friend. Mind you, let me ask you a question. Did you ever meet a guy in Chicago, Gregory Hunt III? Worked at Rev.
No, but was he one of the Hunt brothers from the Squeeze in the
Oh,
70s?
Gregory Hunt, he worked at Revco.
Oh, okay.
He was a top trader at Revco. He was the one that when his uncles, it was his uncle. He was trading for his uncles. He was the one putting the trades through.
Okay, all right.
And he fought the SEC for better part of a decade on that. It wasn't pleasant for him. Anyways, I was pals with him. I just thought maybe you might have known him.
Yeah. Well, it's
But
really.
Sorry, to answer your question. There's going to be a huge insurgence in the price for silver, and I think you're going to see some powerful, ridiculous moves. Will it be somebody's? You got to look to. Is it? I firmly believe that the Chinese have been buying up the gold and buying up the silver. We know clearly that in the last 7 to 8 months, the Chinese have. Well, let's just go back 1 year. Last December, China quit with J.P. Morgan being the lead broker on this, purchased like over 100,000 or more tons of nickel, leaving roughly 29,000 tons in the LME warehouse. Almost cleaned it out. And then at that point, nickel shot up to $8. We're about 720-ish now. So we've gone from 8 last December down to 5 with the COVID crash.
Right.
We're up to 720 now. What's also interesting to note, and this is a big picture, sorry to answer your question, but in the course of the last 8 months, China has purchased and taken delivery of 2 million tons of copper. That is a whole world global production
For a year?
For a year.
Okay.
Right. And there's a debate. We'll have to wait to the numbers, but we should produce between 1.9 and 2.2 million tons of copper this year. COVID-related guesstimates make it harder. But what your listeners might follow on this is that we've just finished China's last 5-year plan. They come out with every 5 years they have a 5-year plan, and it's a significant catalyst in the world sector. For many years, you'd wait for these 5 years. Last time it was they're going to let you have more than one child, and one of the things that one stocks that went berserk were baby formula stocks went berserk. Okay, so now we should have already had that disclosure of this coming 5-year plan. What's their master plan, literally? And that would be, they've had some congresses there and they've let some things slip. And what they've let slip is that they're stockpiling. Okay, folks, they're stockpiling. They almost cleaned out all the nickel in the world. They've just basically bought all the copper in the world. I'm not saying you should panic, but you should be very clued into what's going down.
Why are they doing that? To prepare for war?
Well, I mean, is there any other conclusion? You got to look at let's look at the history here. They took back Hong Kong. They took back Macau. They just finished taking over the South China Sea. That was part of the last 5-year plan, FYI.
Right.
And Taiwan, they let it slip that they used some words that pissed people off. Excuse my French, but they say basically telegraphing to the world that we're gonna have unification with Taiwan. Now, unification's because Taiwan doesn't want to unify with you. How's it gonna happen? So
I've read some esoteric cycle guys last year actually that called the COVID problem and civil unrest and stuff in the US actually thinks there could be a war with China this April.
Well, that's what they basically telegraphed. It's not like they snuck up on you. They went, hey, we bought up all the nickel.
No matter who
bought up all the copper.
Yeah. So and that's for ammo, right? That's for munitions. Okay. They also bought up all the grain. They've been stockpiling wheat and beans and everything.
Food. They've been stockpiling food.
And they've been rehearsing their population to eat less. I forgot what they call it, clean plate type of thing where they're feeding them less, kind of like a soft famine. So I hope you're wrong, and I hope the other guy's wrong. And but you know what? We got to talk to each other, and I know you've had a long storied career. I could tell by talking to you, Greg. But this has never happened to you before. Do you know what it is?
What is it?
You're my trading warrior brother now.
Well, thank you, sir.
Anyway, I have to wrap it up, but there's a nickel. And the best way for people to follow you is on Twitter. Is that the only way?
I'm on Twitter at Stocks Shaman. Also, Greg Shafransky on LinkedIn.
Okay.
I have a reason. Well, the exciting thing for me, this is somewhat exciting. I was voted by miningtechnology.com, one of the biggest influencers in battery minerals in Q3 2020. Top individuals and companies to follow. I was number 3. I got in the medal round. I'm number 3 out of 10.
Wow.
Got in the medal round. I mean, come on, I got on the podium.
Yeah, they need veterans like us, man.
Yeah, somebody's got to know something.
People that remember something besides a bull market and stocks.
There's
other things going on.
Thanks so much for having me. I wish I had some more graphics to share with you. I know I was watching the other guys.
We'll do this another time, buddy. How's that?
Okay.
Sound?
Thanks so very much.
All right, everyone. That you were listening to Greg Shafransky.
That's right.
Stock Shaman. And remember, don't just count your minerals, count your blessings. And we'll see everyone for Turnaround Tuesday tomorrow. You're very welcome, Jane, Richard. People liked you. I'm going to bring you back, buddy.
All righty then.
All right, you're going to do a return. You're going to do another concert. All right. Take it easy, Greg.
Thanks a lot. You as well. Blessings.
See everyone tomorrow. Adios. Bye-bye.